General MacArthur had been eyeing the port at Incheon for a counterstrike. Incheon was nestled along the shores of the Yellow Sea. It was the closest port to Seoul and a major supply center. But it was deep in enemy territory and laden with natural obstacles, such as the 33-foot shift between high and low tide, the largest in the world. To make matters worse, Air Force flyovers revealed that the islands in the harbor were guarded by North Korean troops. The hazards were tremendous. Naval commanders protested the plan, but MacArthur was adamant. He sent a telegram to the Pentagon on September 6th that read, "There is no question in my mind as to the feasibility of the operation, and I regard its chance of success as excellent. I go further and believe that it represents the only hope of wresting the initiative from the enemy and thereby presenting the opportunity for a decisive blow." The loss of Incheon would be an immense psychological defeat for the North Koreans. Conversely, control of Incheon would give UN forces a tremendous boost in position and morale. It offered a secure beachhead from which to launch attacks on Kimpo Airfield and Seoul, 25 miles away. But the operation called for amphibious teams to land on a small beach, scale a seawall, and attack directly into a city. It would require soldiers of unparalleled bravery. MacArthur created a special 10th Corps to carry out the operation. Divisions from the Army, Marines, and Navy were pulled from the action around Pusan to lead the charge. As the soldiers set sail for Incheon, they reflected on what lay ahead.
As soon as we pulled out of Pusan, we began to get the briefings on the tide situation in the Incheon harbor area. None of us ever had any experience operating under such tidal conditions before, let alone ever having been involved in an amphibious landing. As soon as the morning of September 15th approached, we realized that we had all the ingredients for a disaster on our hands. Ensign George Gilman, USS Mount McKinley.
The invasion strategy was as complicated as its target. Incheon's harbor was too shallow at low tide for large ships to maneuver. So MacArthur decided to invade in 2 phases, synchronized with the high tides. Wolmi-do, the main island at the entrance to the harbor, would be assaulted with the first tide in the morning. The main event would follow with the second tide at night. 5 days in advance of the operation, Marine jets began blanketing Wolmi-do with bombs. Two days before, surface ships joined in. And so it was on the morning of September 15th, 1950, the 10th Corps moved in on burned-out Wolmi-do. The North Koreans had been caught off guard and gave up the island easily, suffering more than 300 casualties in the process. Only 20 American troops were injured. None were killed. For the next 11 hours, the 10th Corps Infantry waited for the tide to roll back. While they rested, 230 vessels moved in, and Marine corsairs ravaged the city of Incheon. Troops on Wolmi-do watched the air assault unfold. Reporter Jack Siegel was there to record the reaction.
Yeah, what do you think of those Marine corsairs? Now, those Marine corsairs are pretty swell things to have around. Here comes another one of them down on the other side of that hill. Now, there go 2 rockets. Look at that man. He went right down over the rim of the hill. He's over on his side, now coming directly over it.
As the evening approached, the 10th Corps unleashed the main thrust of the invasion. The landing targets were Red Beach near the heart of the city and Blue Beach to the south. Heavy naval and air bombardment cleared the path ahead of them. Landing ships made their way to the shore. Tanks and heavy equipment were unloaded onto the beaches. Infantrymen prepared to infiltrate the city on foot. Red Beach was secured within an hour and a half, and troops entered the streets of the city on the lookout for snipers. The following morning, Red Beach and Blue Beach were linked, and the operation was complete. Amazingly, the invasion was executed with such precision that only 20 UN soldiers were killed. MacArthur's gamble was a rousing success, and no one was more delighted than the great general. But his thoughts quickly turned to the real prize that lay just over the horizon.